On the last season of the Shuckle Premier League, an evil lord by the name of Emvee sought revenge for the empire that was taken from him by his greatest enemy, PokeaimMD. Destroying everyone and everything in his path with ruthless precision, he made it to the top of the mountain where he encountered the shadow of his former good self. Unfazed by his new opponent, Emvee attacked with brutal strength, but the shadow merely stood there, unaffected, unamused. It harnessed the power of Chinese Eevee spreads, a technique only gifted to worthy students of Zen. His shadow smiled and said coldly,
"You are not ready to meet your maker."
With great shame, the evil Lord Emvee retreated, filled with a burning rage. He perished and was brought back using dark Chinese magic. Evil Emvee recruited members of the Chinese triad to aid him in his conquest, to reclaim his empire from PokeaimMD and to defeat the shadow once and for all. And so begins Season 2. What's pop, and we are back with the first Indigo Disk DLC Draft League. I, of course, have picked up a brand new team for this season, and I'm super excited to try out some of the new Pokemon that I picked up and see how they do in draft. You know, it doesn't matter if I win or lose. I always enjoy, picking cool Pokemon that I've not used before in draft and trying to unlock its draft league potential. I always explain what a draft league is, you know, in case I have any viewers that haven't seen my draft league content, but essentially there are 14 of us. You can see everyone in the league right now. All of us have a set number of points, and each Pokemon is worth a certain number of points. We take turns drafting Pokemon using our points, and nobody else can take a Pokemon that has been picked by somebody else. After getting a team of 10 to 12 Pokemon with, of course, responsible budgeting of our points, we pick our Terra Captains, which in this league are lower tier Terra Captains. If you remember some of mine, if you have seen my draft leagues, I had Terra Dunsparce, Terra Hoopa, and Terra Espeon, among a few others, but those are some really good ones. Hoopa, the Dunsparce, and Espeon got Terra banned, so you can see what I've done with them. But yeah, those are the only Pokemon allowed to Terra, like the lower tier ones now. And so each week we then face off against each other where our opponent can see our team, we can see their team, like their overall draft, I should say, and then we have to pick the 6 best Pokemon for the matchup, try to build some unique sets or counter team. It's a pretty fun, like, kind of creativity exercise in the form of a high stakes tournament where we have to bring some cool sets and try to catch our opponents off guard. It's definitely like something I like to do all the time. So now that we talked about draft league and what it is for anyone that doesn't know about it, let's get into the Pokemon that I picked up for the season. But before I do, if you're excited, please definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It will mean a lot on my journey to 100K. And also, real quick, shout out to my boy SP Crash for making a new draft logo for me. This is that new team that I got here, the nice big nuggets. I tweeted it out. I'm sure some of y'all have seen it, but if you haven't, yeah, this is the new team logo. I think it's really cool. The Gym Charge is a cool one, of course. I had that for a long time, but I wanted one of my own that, you know, I made like more modern time, recent kind of thing. So this one looks really, really cool. Yeah, so for the randomized draft order, I was the very last pick in the draft, which, you know, is honestly pretty good since I get the wheel pick, meaning that, you know, it's like a snake style draft. So when it comes to me, I get to pick 2 Pokemon at a time. I get to pick the one that's on my turn, which is the very last, and then I get to start the turn off. So it's like 2 back to back. So I don't really get sniped or anything like that on a pick. I don't really have to plan either. I just see like the 2 mons that kind of fit together, or the 2 mons I really like, and just go back to back and get those mons. So it's pretty convenient. I would say it's pretty convenient. And so yeah, let's get right into it. So my first Pokemon that I picked for this draft, SPL Season 2, is Annihilate. What better way to fuel my rage and show that I have been rebirthed in my eviler form than Annihilate, which came back because it was so angry after it died. That's, I think, the best representation of going into the Season 2. So Annihilate, I think, is a really cool mon for draft because, first of all, it's really bulky, right? It's very, very bulky. It's not slow by any means. It's not really fast, but it's not slow. I could run a Choice Scarf on it if I wanted to on some weeks, but yeah, it's really good in terms of bulk, decent speed. I think base 90 or so, so it's not bad at all. And you know, Rage Fist, we all know what that does. Keep getting hit, keep getting angrier, and then keep getting more powerful. It is the only Ghost Fighting type Pokemon in the game right now. I don't think Marshallow's in the game, but yeah, it's very, very strong. And Annihilate is cool. Like, this mon, I always wanted to try it out in draft, but I was prioritizing new Pokemon. Like for you know, the first one I got like Walking Wake, then I got Ursaluna, then I got Bloodmoon Ursaluna, so now starting off with Annihilate. Because when it came to me, there was a lot of mons gone, but this one I saw, I was like, oh shoot, that's not taken yet, I gotta get that. Annihilate is the first Pokemon that I picked, and I'm excited to see what I can do with it in terms of some unique sets here and there. I'm sure everyone knows like a lot of common sets on it, but I'm trying to find some uncommon ones, so I'll see what I can do with it. But I get to pick back to back, right? So to my surprise, I saw a Pokemon that I actually really wanted very badly for my team that was still available after 13 picks, or 14 I guess, because I just picked up the 14th one, but I picked up Raging Bolt. That's right, so we got Annihilate and Raging Bolt, 2 Raging Pokemon, one with Rage Fist, one with a Raging Bolt. You can kind of see the theme going on here. And yeah, this Raging Bolt is a Pokemon that I really wanted because it's brand new. I at least wanted to kind of get like something that was completely brand new for the DLC, and Raging Bolt made it to me. So I think Gouging Fire got taken very early, like pick 2 or 3 or something. I actually really wanted Raging Bolt over Gouging Fire just because it kind of reminds me of Mega Ampharos, the typings, just really bulky, and I actually had that on my first Wi-Fi Draft League, Mega Ampharos, when we had Megas and stuff back then. And it kind of reminds me of that. So yeah, I think Annihilate, Raging Bolt, really cool combination that I picked up here with Volt Turn potential as well. With Volt Switch with Raging Bolt, U-Turn with Annihilate, that's pretty cool too. And yeah, a lot of booster energy potential as well with what it can do, what stats it can boost, and how it will function. I'm curious to try out both of these mons together. So those are my first 2 picks that I picked up. Then I had to wait like 27, 28 picks before it came back to me. And then for my 3rd pick, right? For my 3rd pick, I wanted Metagross as a Steel type. That got taken. But I saw another Steel type that had meaning to me, to my drafts, and I'm sure it has some meaning to y'all if you've been watching my channel for a long time. You'll remember this Pokemon, previously known as Best Defogger. I picked up Empoleon. No longer Best Defogger because it doesn't have Defog anymore, but it has Roost. I clearly remember in the old draft leagues that I had it in, people like completely underestimated this mon. They were like, oh, this is not a great mon, Empoleon this and that, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me just defog every single week, let me make it put in work every single week. And it did great, it did fantastically. So hopefully it'll do just as well, if not better, now that it has access to healing, has a bunch of cool stuff. Now its ability is competitive, so no longer Defiant, which means I can actually get boost to my special attack for any kind of stat drop, which greatly benefits what Empoleon is all about. And yeah, it's a great Steel type. I'm probably gonna get a Fairy type eventually. That was my thought process at this point. But yeah, the 2 Pokemon that I got. So I got Empoleon, right? Good for clicking Stealth Rocks, good for sponging hits and doing all kinds of stuff. Doing what I love to see that Empoleon does most. And it also gets Flip Turn, so I can actually move around with Annihilate and Raging Bolts, U-Turn and Volt Switch. I can Flip Turn out too. So really good for maneuverability of the team. And my 4th pick also has momentum options as well and is extremely versatile. I was surprised to see this Pokemon still around after 4 picks. And so I got Mew. So Mew is a really cool Pokemon because it's essentially a team builder's blank canvas, a team builder's paradise. I'm a team builder. I like to build, unique stuff, creative stuff, and Mew gives me a lot of resources to work with. Having so many moves that I can learn, access to a lot of different types of sets. And I've never used Mew before in drafts, so I feel like I have a nice fresh perspective on what I can do with it. It essentially gets like so many moves, but although it did lose access to recovery this gen, so I don't think it had like recover or anything, I think it now gets Pain Split, which is cool. And so it can actually heal itself in different ways through its attacks like Draining Kicks and stuff, and also through Pain Split. So that could be pretty cool. It gets like a lot of hazards like Stealth Rock spikes, T-spikes, etc. So very versatile in terms of offensively and defensively, because it has a ton of support moves. And yeah, I think it really works well with this team in general, especially when you have so many hazards and Annihilate to spin block and anti-defog with Defiant ability. I think it's really interesting. And it also has momentum too, right? So I can U-turn out, Volt Switch out, do a bunch of stuff. I think it also gets Flip Turn. It gets a bunch of stuff. So yeah, it's really a really interesting mon for sure. And I'm curious to see what it can do and how I can use it, because it's essentially a canvas for me to be creative with. So let's see what happens. Now another 27 picks happen until it gets back to me, 28. And now we are on my 5th pick. So for my 5th pick, this is actually around when after I picked up Mew, people started getting their Terra Captains. And stuff was flying out left and right. I was like, oh shoot, that mon's gone, like all like these like lower tier Terra Captains. Because Terra Captains are extremely essential because they oftentimes put in a lot of work because they can Terra, so it balances out with some of the higher tier mons. But when it came back to me, I saw a mon as a Terra Captain that I could get that's really intrigued me. I was like, this mon is still there. I don't think it's gonna last if I let this mon slide. And so I picked it up immediately. My first Terra Captain for the team is going to be Terra Flygon, a returning Pokemon from the DLC. Terra Flygon is really cool because with Terrestrialization, we're able to remove its weaknesses, give it some extra coverage, make it stronger. And Flygon is one of those kinds of Pokemon that, Dragon Dance Sweeper, it can utilize special attacks as well. Like it's a very mixed move pool that it can work with. It unfortunately no longer has access to Roost, but I mean, if we're using this mon offensively, which we are, it has a lot of potential, I feel, in what it can do. So yeah, Flygon, even though like, yeah, I already have a dragon, doesn't matter because I'm going to be tearing either ground, electric, or steel and doing work. And Terra Ground, it actually hits earthquakes really hard, or even earth powers for that matter. I like Terra Electric just because it gives me no weaknesses due to Levitate, right? Levitate means I'm immune to ground, and Electric's weakness is ground, so just having no weaknesses basically is pretty cool, and gives me coverage versus stuff like some certain flying types here and there, some water types, this and that. It's pretty cool. And I also like Terra Steel because it gives me, first of all, I have Levitate, so I'm not weak to ground, and Steel is weak to ground, but also fighting, which doesn't matter because I have Annihilate and Mew and stuff like that, so I can Sponge. Fire attacks, I have ground attacks and stuff like that, but it removes my ice weakness and fairy weakness. That's pretty cool. And yeah, Terra Steel Flygon, pretty cool defensively on this mon. I like it, and I'm excited to try it out as well. It gives me a Volt Turn as well, like U-Turn with Flygon and Volt Switch with Raging Bolt. So I got even more momentum added to this team. And yeah, Flygon, really cool Terra Captain. So I still have more points for another Terra Captain, which you'll soon see. But for my 6th pick, so I got to pick 2 back-to-back. I picked up Flygon, which is my first Terra Captain, and then I picked up a Fairy type. But my Fairy type that I picked up is also a grounded Poison type. What's Fairy and what's Poison? I got Pheasantipity. I wanted to try this mon pretty badly because I figured like Pheasantipity, I don't even know if it's like all that good in draft, but it does seem very versatile, first of all. Its speed tier is relatively good, like it's decently fast. It has really good coverage, not the strongest, but has good coverage. I do like its ability to poison mons on contact, badly poison them, and also has Technician, which is usable with some of its other moves, has access to Nasty Plot, Swords Dance, Calm Mind, so it's a very versatile Pokemon. And versatility is, in my opinion, the most important thing in a draft league. The number one thing is to have a Pokemon that is extremely versatile. So whenever I pick Pokemon, I always try to think of at least 10 different sets. If I can, that's a Pokemon worth picking because I can switch up sets a lot. If it's not, probably I won't pick it, maybe somebody else will. But yeah, I do like the unpredictability of sets. Being able to switch things up, because if your opponent's worried about like 50 or 100 different sets you could possibly bring, then you have a much easier chance of being able to surprise them with a set that they might not have prepared for or have under-prepared for because they're thinking I'm bringing some other set. So getting Flygon Pheasantipity on this round, I think was super, super cool, with Flygon being the Terra Captain and Pheasantipity being a very versatile fairy. I think there was also Sylveon and other stuff around during this time, but Pheasantipity was like way cheaper, I think. And secondly, I just like it more for my style of play. Not to mention it's also a grounded poison, which is extremely essential for any draft team to not lose to Toxic Spikes. And so, yeah, we'll see how it does. Well, I mean, we'll try it out, of course, and see how it does for myself. Now, my 7th pick. So we already got the first 6 picks now. 7th pick, when it came back to me, I got to pick 2 mons in a row. Now, the first Pokemon that I picked was for its ability to set up Stealth Rocks without me having to click Stealth Rocks. By that, I mean, I like to bring teams a lot that don't have Stealth Rocks, but this gives me an excuse to not bring Stealth Rocks, but also bring Stealth Rocks. Confusing, right? I'll tell you what I picked up. I picked up Kleavor. Kleavor allows me to, first of all, it's another strong U-turner, right? I have Flygon, I have Annihilate, I have Mew, which can also U-turn. Pheasantipity also U-turns too, right? I have Momentum in Pheasantipity as well. Kleavor is just a really strong U-turner. It can also click Stone Axe. And by clicking Stone Axe, I automatically get up rocks. So if I bring Cleavor, I have no excuse not to get my Stealth Rocks up, which I often don't bring to Draft League games. I think last season I only brought Stealth Rocks once. And that probably was because I only had one Stealth Rocker, which was the Dunsparce, and I didn't bring it often because it wasn't a Terra Captain. But yeah, Cleavor's cool. If I bring Cleavor, rocks are going up, and rocks are probably staying up because I have Annihilate 2 Spin Block and Anti-Defog with, its ability. So yeah, I think Cleavor's really cool. It's strong. It just clicks buttons and it's really strong. And oftentimes you'll probably see it running, I don't know, a lot of really cool physical sets with its moves. It has some pretty decent coverage as well. And yeah, it's a really strong, hard-hitting physical attacker. I have Annihilate, but I think Cleavor hits really, really hard. And yeah, I like this mon quite a lot. I don't have a rock type or a bug type yet, so it gives me some typings I don't have. And it also has defog. So if I really want to defog, I can use Cleavor, or I could just out-hazard my opponent with rocks, spikes, T-spikes, and just run boots on stuff. Could do that. And that was my 7th pick, which I'm glad that Cleavor was still around after all this time. It was a huge threat in all the other times that I've seen it or that I've faced it. It's a huge threat, so I get to use it myself now on my own team. For my 8th pick, I realized, I looked at my team and I'm like, I need some speed, right? I need some actual speed. A lot of those like fast mons like Meowscarada, Greninja, Cinderace, all these mons like that are super fast were also like taken really early. But I saw a mon that was still really fast that wasn't taken yet by pick number 8. And that mon is in Joey's emote flings tomatoes, but we'll be trying to fling some big nuggets with it. Weavile. I got Weavile. And I think Weavile is a lot better than it was before because now it has, obviously it has knockoff from the first DLC. Now it has triple axle from the second DLC, from this DLC. Has triple axle, has knockoff, it's very strong, it's fast, it's faster than Iron Boulder, which, not a lot of Pokemon are faster than that. So Speed Ty's Darkrai, which is allowed in the league. And yeah, this is a really fast Pokemon for the team. Now, it's my first Pokemon that doesn't get an attacking move for momentum because my first 7 picks all have momentum in the form of U-turn, Volt Switch, Flip Turn, and yeah, so, but this has Baton Pass. I'm allowed to Baton Pass without passing stats, so I can still use it for momentum. I still have momentum in a non-offensive way, and I do think that Weavile is a mon that just clicks knockoff, removes items. That could be really useful, right? Just a hard-hitting knockoff user. I could, do a bunch of stuff with it. It is frail, and I also saw that Roaring Moon was still around, but did I really want a 3rd dragon? I feel like it could have been useful, but I at this point in time I was like, Weavile gives me an ice type. It gives me a dark type. I can click Ice Shard with it. I have priority, and yeah, I think it covers a lot more that my team couldn't cover before. And if I got like Roaring Moon, I don't even know like if I should have gotten Roaring Moon or not. It's still around, but I think Weavile's better for the team in my opinion. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure about that. That's like the one thing I wasn't really sure about, but yeah, I think Weavile in terms of speed, it can't be beaten. I think in terms of speed, it definitely has the edge over Roaring Moon, which still gets outrun by certain faster mons. Like this mon is faster than Greninja too, which is great. So yeah, anyways. Yeah, Weavile I think is really cool along with Cleavor. As soon as I picked up Cleavor and Weavile together, people were like, oh shoot, you're trying to do some damage. Which I definitely am. So, and I think Weavile kind of fits more along with the, the Sneasler logo or the Sneasler from last season. Now I got Weavile, so it definitely fits the theme a lot more. Definitely is more thematically correct with what I'm going for this draft. Just pure anger and destruction. So yeah, pick number 9, okay, so I have like 4 picks left, or I have up to 4 picks left. I can pick 2 more, or I can pick 4 more, depending on my points. I wanted a Pokemon that could provide me a secondary form or a better form of Hazard Control, because Cleavor probably not going to be bringing it for the purpose of defogging, so I picked up a mon that I saw which I thought could be useful for removing hazards if I needed to, because, I've seen Joey, like, he won without using Hazard Control, but I feel more comfortable just having the option for Hazard Control, so yeah, I picked up a Rapid Spinner and I got Toedscruel. And Toedscruel I think is interesting because it's, well, it's, first of all, not very many points, so I thought it was a really good pickup for the team, and it gives me a secondary ground type in case I Terra Flygon into something that's not ground, so that could be awesome. And yeah, I don't have a grass type yet, so that's nice. I can spore stuff. I have the option for like spikes, T-spikes and stuff like that. Rapid spin's good. And it has some pretty interesting coverage as well. I do like its ability in the sense that I can just spore things, and it's like a mold breaker for status moves and stuff, so I think it's nice. But yeah, otherwise it's fast. Like, it's decently fast, right? Base 100 or whatever. So if I'm not going for negative priority moves, like for its status moves, I can just go for attacks, and they'll do some decent damage. Like, this mon can hit decently hard, depending on how I EV it, and it's definitely a Chinese EV spread type of mon that I could use. So yeah, Toedscruel, and then I picked it up alongside my 10th Pokemon, my 10th pick, which is another Terra Captain. So my Terra Captain that I picked up for the next one is a Pokemon that I was curious about trying as a Terra Captain. Now, it combines the elements of the Dunsparce and Hoopa. Now, what I mean by that is the Dunsparce, if you remember, was a very annoying Pokemon for our opponents. A lot of cheese sets, a lot of annoying sets that we brought that really gave our opponents a hard time. I could see that in this Pokemon that I just got for my Terra Captain. I could also see a bit of Espeon in this Pokemon in terms of its sweeping potential with store power and, you know, just being able to set up and just be very difficult to deal with. I could also see that in this Pokemon as well. It is also a member of the Chinese Triad. We have Raging Bolt and another giraffe. We have Farigiraf, the second member, and you'll see what I mean when you see the third member of the Triad. You know, the Triad is the 3, so you'll see what I mean when you see the third member. But see, I'm planning out the story. I'm planning out the whole theme of everything going on. But Farigiraf, I think, is really interesting. It's a really cool Pokemon. I feel like it has a lot of potential. The Terra types that I gave it are Normal, Water, and Fairy. Those are the exact Terra types I gave the Dunsparce. Normal, I think, is very spammable because you can click Terra Normal. You only have one weakness to Fighting, and yeah, you're able to just click Terra Normal Hyper Voice or Terra Normal Body Slam or just other normal moves like that. Like, I think it's better because it has less weaknesses, and it just reminds me of the Dunsparce. It doesn't have Boom Burst, but its special attack stat is a lot better than the Dunsparce, so it's quite powerful in what it can do. And yeah, Terra Water, really good defensively, but also we have Sap Sipper, and that means that we only have one weakness to Electric if we Terra Water. So that's really cool too. Armor Tail's a really great ability as well to prevent priority, because we have ways of setting up with like Calm Mind or Agility or other stuff like that. And it's just really strong in general. It can just click attacks pretty nicely. Terra Fairy is also good defensively, but it's great for the stored power sets because it gives us coverage versus Dark, or powers up our Dazzling Gleam or whatever. I think it's pretty good as a defensive typing. It's nice because I have Steel and Flygon. I have you know, Fairy on this. Like, Steel and Fairy are really good typings overall for our Terra Captains, and yeah, and it also has access to Wish, right? If Annihilape takes damage, its Rage Fist is powering up, but it does get weaker. It doesn't have recovery of its own other than rest. Farigiraf can actually wish up Annihilape, so I can wish with Farigiraf, go into Annihilape, take damage and heal, and power up Rage Fist that way. I think that's a really cool combination for what it can do. And yeah, Farigiraf is my second Terra Captain. Now, with that in mind, I have 1 point left for a potential third Terra Captain. At this point in the draft, right? I got Flygon, which is 9 points. I got Farigiraf, which is like 5 points. And the total number of points that your Terra Captains can be is up to 15 points. So I've already used up 14, but I can get 2 to 3 Terra Captains. I have one more Terra Captain option and 2 points left, right? I could either get a 2-point Mon and no Terra Captain, or 2 1-point Mons and 1 Terra Captain. Now, the 1-point tier is pretty bad. This is where I got Delibird from, right? My last Pokemon that I got from 1-point tier was Delibird. It did work, but not, I mean, you can kind of see where I'm going with this. It's not great. However, I did pick up a 1-point Terra Captain that I think might be more of a diamond in the rough, more of a gem. Has more use, I think, than Delibird. I picked up the third member of the Chinese Triad. I picked up Tropius, another long-necked Pokemon for the team. Triple Giraffes. So my team is triple Giraffes. Raging Bolt, Farigiraf, and Tropius. The triple Giraffe core, also known as the Chinese Triad. That's what I picked up here. And I think this Pokemon is going to be way better than Delibird because, first of all, it's a Terra Captain, right? I can actually Terra with it, and I can actually make really good use of its bulk, its coverage, and its ability. Its abilities, I should say, because it has Harvest and also Chlorophyll, which you'll soon see what my last Mon is. But I picked up this Pokemon, gave it Terra, Flying, Fire, and Steel. And Flying, I think, is better than Grass for this Pokemon just because I don't have a Flying type on my team. I have, I mean, I'm not weak to ground. By no means am I weak to ground. I have Flygon, I have Toedscruel, and Tropius, and I could run Balloon on whatever, or Bulk on whatever, and I'll be fine. But I do like Flying more for its move spammability. I think Flying is a great spammable move type, like normal. I do like Terra Fire on this Pokemon because it gives me resistances to Ice and Fire and, you know, some nice valuable coverage as well. And I can destroy ground types and stuff with my grass attacks, so no problem there. And also Terra Steel, which I think is great defensive. Like I said, you know, Terra Steel, Terra Fairy, I think are great. I have Terra Steel on my Flygon as well, but Steel is great for this one in particular because, you know, removing the Ice weakness is great. Poison immunity is also cool too. So a lot of options for this Pokemon. And yeah, Tropius, you know, there's that one random battle set that's super annoying that I always love to run whenever I got it versus Joey. Like I used to bring that Tropius and sub-leech seed and do all kinds of annoying stuff like that. It's really cool. I think I'm more glad to have this Pokemon than I was glad to have Delibird last season. I think Delibird was great, you know, for what it did when I brought it. But this Pokemon, I think, is more of a diamond in the rough, like, you know, more of a hidden gem. Now, for my last Pokemon, I have 1 point left, literally 1 point, and I've taken the one mon that I really wanted to try in draft as a 1-pointer. I didn't really want to try it, but I got it, and I thought it was the best of 1 point. But yeah, I had 1 point left, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna use up 1 point on something. But then I noticed, I was like, wait a second, I'm a cook right here. I got something I can probably cook with, and so I picked up 1 point Vulpix. Now, 1 point Vulpix is, I mean, Vulpix on its own is probably not a great Pokemon, but for what it can do, its ability, right? Its ability is Drought. It can give me photosynthesis boosts on my Raging Bolt and also Chlorophyll on my Tropius. That could be cool, right? That could actually be really interesting. So yeah, that was my last 1 point mon is Vulpix for Drought, for potential Drought if I wanted to go a route that brought Sun, but I didn't build my team around a Sun team, right? A lot of people built their teams around weather. I know Kyle, for example, he got you know, Houndstone and Excadrill before he even got T-Tar, so we knew what route he was going. Nothing like that. So it was just like a last spur decision just to have Sun on my team potentially, which could be cool, maybe to switch up weathers or to power up Raging Bolt or to give me speed on Tropius. I think that is a very interesting way to go, especially because Tropius is a Terra Captain, so it actually has value now with its other ability, Chlorophyll, besides Harvest. So yeah, last mon Vulpix, and that is my overall draft. I got 12 Pokemon, the maximum amount of Pokemon I could get, and I used up all my points, and I got 3 Terra Captains, and yeah, I like my team a lot. I think my team is really cool. Like this, I think this draft in particular is one of my more, like, I think in my opinion, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, this is a cool draft. This is a really cool draft. So we'll see how it does. I mean, obviously, you know, I just drafted it, so I don't know how it's gonna all work together. I picked Pokemon I really liked, so now it's gonna be just trying it out in the early weeks, getting the hang of it, then just trying to keep winning as much as I can with this team. I think it's a good one. We have a lot of speed. On some mons, we have good hazard stack potential. We have Annihilate to spin block and anti-defog, and we have a lot of offense, a lot of sweeping potential, and a lot of offense, which is what I like. But we also have some defense, right? We also have some good, so like a lot of these offensive mons can also be defensive, which I like. You know, very good versatility in not only the sets, but the EVs as well. A lot of Chinese EV spread potential, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed the draft analysis. Week 1 going up next week. If you haven't seen the draft stream that happened on Joey's channel, go check that out. If you want to see everybody's full draft, join the SPL Discord if you want to get the latest up-to-date stuff going on with the league. Let me know what you think about my draft and what Pokemon you really like on my team the most. I'd like to know. And with that being said, subscribe if you haven't already. It would mean a lot, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.